apostrophe ITWIT HDANNY and JENNY. Doing it with Danny and Jenny. Doing it with Danny and Jenny. Doing it with Danny and Jenny. It's a revolution in podcast.
A revolution in podcast.
This is the truth. There's a lot of social upheaval, but nothing more profound than our revolution in podcasting, wouldn't you say, right now? Between COVID and
I feel like
I'm ready to storm the Bastille right now.
It's time. We haven't introduced our guests yet, but I wouldn't mind at some point having a rap remix of our theme song. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I would ask whoever created the theme song to not quit their day job.
Yeah. It's Eli Braden who does a lot of songs on Howard Stern. They're always about Robin's tits. Like he's always on.
So any song about Robin's tits or Robin having sex or jizz related Eli. To those, so that's his oeuvre.
Yeah, so he's not going to run out of material anytime.
He will never run out of material. Well, I'll introduce our guest while Danny chugs his, what are you having again?
White whiskey right now.
Oh, somebody got sassy.
A little red.
Being sassy with your beard. All right, well, Bun B, the mayor of Houston, professor at Rice University. Yeah, your guest lecturer at Rice University, rapper, activist, I would say, very big activist. I feel like you've done more for the city of Houston than most people that are actually politically there. Like you have been
sometimes without even trying.
But
even more than Governor Abbott.
Well, I would make an Abbott joke, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be PC.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, this show isn't PC. But my friend Bernard Freeman, Bun B from UGK.
Hey.
What up, UGK?
I'm willing to make all the Dan Patrick jokes you want to make, though.
We can do that. Bring it. We can make them all. Danny and I have no problem making fun of anyone. So
thank you guys so much for having me, man. I've been anticipating this for a while. Like this is a bucket list right here.
God! Oh my God! You have to live more of a life, is all I can say, Bun B.
Mine is him saying it's a bucket list. Is my bucket list?
Yeah, that is
being on this. Is actually. Well, we're really super happy.
We're glad it worked out. I heard your jaw was numb the other day. I don't know if we're free to talk about your mouth, but I just did.
I guess so. I guess we're there now.
Well, it's because Danny and I have
no turning back.
Yeah, Danny and I have the worst dental issues constantly. I feel like we always have a run for money. I'm like, oh, guess what just happened? I need a deep gum cleanse or something. Like I've had more dental issues.
Me too.
So I don't know what happened. Within maybe the last 4 or 5 years, I've been having this grinding issue.
Oh, like a TMJ thing?
Yeah. So and mine gets bad to the point where I break teeth.
That's recently what happened to mine. Mine is clenching. It's not like I grind them, but it's like I wake up and it hurts. Like my jaw feels sore, and then all of a sudden I had this horrible toothache. Not that long ago. It was the whole half of my face was just I could feel my heart beating through my. That's
how I felt. That's how I felt Monday. But then but I have a very high pain tolerance. So
that's one of the many ways we differ.
Right. So a broken tooth for me isn't a problem necessarily, but this last issue, one of them broke to the point of a point. Right. It kept stabbing myself in the tongue. Every time I talked or even when I ate it was even worse. So I was I need to get this taken out just because of it being a nuisance. But then there was another tooth that had broken off, and it broke off in the gum. So I basically just had half a tooth inside the gum, but it wasn't it was tolerable. So I didn't make a big deal about it. And then when the other tooth broke to the point, I was well, if you're going to take that one, go ahead and get the other one out too while we're here.
Oh my God. Yeah, I have no tolerance for tooth pain. And I also am terrified of the dentist. So it's
now when I get an infection though, as high as my pain tolerance is, when I get a tooth, like an infection, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like I remember the last time it was like 3 a.m. I just got out of bed. He's like, "What's wrong? Where you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to the emergency room because my tooth hurts." And this is the guy. I break everything. Like I have no, like this knuckle's gone, that knuckle's gone from like boxing fractures.
Same.
I break stuff all the time. Like I'm super clumsy.
Do you get the thing where like people have to point out to me that I'm bleeding? Like they're like, "Hey,
Yes.
like Jenny, your arm is bleeding." I'm like, "Oh no, shit. How about that?" Like, "Oh, okay." But the tooth pain is like a whole. I had exactly, Bun, like everything you're describing is what's happened to me. Like I had an infection. That kind of pain was like, it was unbearable, and I couldn't go to the emergency room because we're under fucking. I didn't want to go to the emergency room. That's like the worst place to go right now. Everybody's sick. So
I pulled a tooth out before, like at home. Like I was like this tooth is killing me. I have to get it out right now.
Oh my God. Like Castaway. Did you have like when Tom Hanks, remember in Castaway where he took that like ice skate and like
well, my thing was I just kept pushing it, right? Like from the inside. I just kept pushing it until it finally came out.
Oh my God.
See, as long as there's no infection, I can do it. But the infection part is like, I was given a prescription for like, I forgot what the name of the shit they give you. No, like an antibiotic.
It's okay, Danny. It's okay.
Look, he's about to get a blanket. And
when I was like 6 years old, my dad was not the most attentive dad, and he wanted to go see a movie, and he brought me. And the movie was Marathon Man. I don't know if you remember this movie, but in it was Dustin Hoffman, and he's getting drilled by Laurence Olivier is like a Nazi dentist, and he's torturing him by taking his teeth. And that was a movie I watched at about age 7, and it just fucked me up forever.
Yeah. No.
So like blood force trauma I can deal with, but it's nerve. It's like nerve issues, right? So broken bones, fractures. I'm good with that. Like I don't think I've ever been to a doctor for a broken bone. Like, well, I broke my hand in Dublin, like on gumball. So I broke my hand on day 1 in Dublin, and I went like 6 days with it broken, but the adrenaline kind of kept me going. And then like once we got to the last city, it all like the pain came rushing back. But I was in Romania, so I had to go to a Romanian hospital, and it looks like exactly what you would think a Romanian hospital looks like, right?
Dracula was like your surgeon.
Put it like this: when I went to the front desk and I told them that I needed to go to the hospital, they were like, "Okay, hold on, we'll get the head of security."
Oh,
that's unbelievable.
Not a physician, but it's head of security.
To escort me to the hospital. And you get there, and like the walls are puke green. Like every other door has a radioactive symbol on it. Every chair is broken. Like
some Chernobyl shit.
It's like the old guy limping across the waiting room, like coughing, like kind of a thing. I go into registration. I bullshit you not. I go to registration, and the computer doesn't work. So like they've literally taped like a photocopy of the home screen onto the computer.
Oh my God. That brings confidence, right? You're just feeling like I'm gonna get the best treatment here.
And so the doctor tells me, he says, "Well, you have 2 choices." I said, "Okay, what are my choices?" He said, "Well, first choice, we do surgery. We put pin in finger. You don't use finger for 4 weeks. We take pen out 2 weeks. Your hand good." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're not doing any surgery to me in this hospital." It was this pinky. I broke this hand. And so I said, "Well, that's not an option." I was like, "What's the second option?" He says, "Caveman." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "What does caveman do when caveman break hand? Caveman keep going." I'm like,
you went with the caveman option.
Yeah, I went with the caveman.
Your Blue Cross covered caveman?
Yeah. It does.
But like, how are those your 2 options?
Well, surgery was not an option. If you looked at this hospital, surgery was not an option. So when I came back home, my hand was looking like really jacked up. And so I went straight to the hospital when I got home. And the doctor was like, "Well, the bone's already recalcifying. So in order for me to fix it, I got to re-break it." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Well, you're going to put your hand on this table. I'm going to put both of my hands on top of it, right? Like this. And we're going to count to 3, and I'm going to re-break your hand and see if I can push the bones back together."
This is like you're like in Saw. You're in a Saw movie.
You're like, do it, bring it, motherfucker, bring it.
And I was like, and Queenie's sitting there like, no. And I'm like, okay, fine, let's see what happens. And so he's literally like 1, 2, crack, like not even 3, like.
Oh my God.
And then after he cracks it, he grabs it with 2 hands and starts trying to push the bones. He's like, yeah, no, it's not working. We're gonna have to do surgery. I'm like, look, at this point, I just want to go home. I'm like, just take me home. I'm not doing anything. And I had to perform like the next day with Beyonce in Dallas.
So are you performing like with your hand like all bandaged up and stuff?
Pretty much. And I had done it in Romania. I had a show in Romania after I left the hospital. Like they bandaged me in Romania. I go to the club, I get drunk in the club, and I bite the bandage off in the club. Like I'm a very different kind of guy, Danny.
You are. Like, I'm the guy, like, I don't know, you know the war movie when they have like a group of people in a war movie and there's that one guy the minute the bullets start fighting and he goes, I can't do it, man, I'm freaking out. That's like, and then I get shot in the head. Like that's the extent of my courage. I don't think like when you know how some people are like very inspirational when they're dying of something and it's like, oh my God, he was so brave and all that. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to die in the most cowardly possible way. I'm not going to inspire anybody. Even my friends and family are going to be like, "Hey, dude, man up a little bit, okay?"
Your last word's going to be "owie."
Ow, it hurts. Kiss it.
It's your fault. Why would you do that?
Oh man.
Wait a minute, but do you think this is a product of because you're from Port Arthur, Texas?
Right.
I'm from Bay City, Texas. We're coastal. When shit broke, like growing up, my parents were like, I broke 9 of my toes at one time. My parents just told me to hobble down 4 doors because there was Dr. Raju who lived 4 doors down. For years, I thought he was actually a podiatrist. It turns out he was an ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Ear, nose, throat, and toes?
Yeah. No, not toes. He just giggled. He giggled the whole time. He giggled at everything and just told me to tape, like splint my toes up together. And he goes,
right.
There's nothing you can do for broken toes.
Was this a cheerleading accident?
This was.
I'm trying to figure out how do you break 9 out of 10? Like which toe didn't break? All right.
It was the baby one on the right.
Oh, it was the one that went to market?
Yeah, the one that went to market. But I tried to do a full Mary Lou Retton thing. Like I was 11 years old in the backyard. I'm like, I had taken gymnastics. I had learned to do a back handspring, just learned to do it. And as I did the back handspring, there was a little divot in the backyard, a little hole in my toes. I heard it all like crunch. And I remember I fell on my butt. And you know, like when you stump your toe and you have that period of like 3 seconds before the pain. Like,
right.
It was like 30 seconds. I just sat there, it like froze, and all of a sudden it was like, you're like, oh.
Wait, Jenny is telling a story about breaking 9 of her toes at one time. Yeah.
And my parents go, hobble your ass down to the ear, nose, and throat doctor. And my dad was like, there's nothing you can do about broken toes. You just splint them up next to each other. So I had to walk around in 6th grade on crutches on my heels for like 6 weeks. Like this is. But
you guys are so not Jewish, both of you. I'm just gonna say it right off the bat.
How could you tell, Danny?
I don't know. You could be Bun. You could be Sephardic. You could be from one of the lost tribe. One of the lost tribes.
It was when I said your name is Bernard Freeman, and he was like Friedman. I'm like, no, calm down.
Is he a doctor? Well, let's talk about something that isn't making my my testicles go into my abdomen. What's going on? I mean, how is this affecting your music right now? I mean, are you able to record? Are you recording? Are you?
Yeah. So that's the easy part, right? Like replicating the recording process at home is fairly easy, right? But performing it's not happening, right? Like there are people who are constantly working on different ways to do things virtually, and we're considering doing something virtually fairly soon. But for the most part, man, I did one concert for the 4th of July with the symphony in Houston, but no one was there. Just like me, a symphony behind me, a conductor, and then like an entire empty like hall.
Wow.
And for like,
which
because
I've been
doing Zoom comedy shows, which is not stand up, but you have the people unmute themselves I can, it's not stand up, but there is something.
Yeah, it's more like storytelling. I tuned into the one you did, and I feel like it's more like storytelling kind of thing, right?
I treated it as that because I thought I'm just going to treat it this way because it's going to be awkward if I try to do like my proper stand up. So let me just do some storytelling. But as a musician, you can't, what are you going to sit here and just start?
It's kind of the same dynamic though, right? Like it's built off energy, right? So you can tell in real time, you can kind of tell what's working and what isn't, and you can make adjustments in the moment.
Yeah.
Right. But when it's virtual, you're just kind of there, and you're there, you present it, and it's either going to be what it is or it's not going to be at all. But you really have no say in the matter, right? You're kind of doing it. So like, I don't know if I'm killing it or not in the moment. I'm just going for it, right? Because there's no applause and no reaction.
Right. And that's the thing is like, I've had opportunities to do like stand-up things with no audience, but it'll be live streamed. I'm like, no, that would sap every shred of confidence that I have left right now. Just like hit a punchline and just crickets. Like, good, that's gonna make me feel great.
It's tough. I saw somebody somebody I know who's funny try and do like jokes early on in the Zoom thing, and it was like, it's painful because you require that feedback.
But if you do have the Zoom audience and you can hear them laughing, like that is something to be said for it. So at least you're able to like flex that muscle, that comedy muscle, because if you're not on stage for like, what's the longest Bun that you've ever gone like without being on stage performing?
Probably from birth until maybe 18, so like 18 years.
No, but like once you did it.
Okay,
yeah. Like where you feel cold, you feel like,
probably
shit.
now, probably like right now, and then
moment.
and then for me, like especially with rap, right? I don't know about every other form of music. I don't know how bands make it work, but like for rap, there's a lot of reciprocal energy involved, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like I'm performing, I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing while I perform. The crowd's into it, they're giving energy back, right? So there's a reciprocation of energy that goes back and forth, right?
Yeah.
But virtually there's nothing. So it's like exertion, and then you're just tired. Like Queenie was like, you did so good for the first song, and then after that, you were like, I could tell you were winded because no one was giving anything back, right? Like that's the normal process. But I mean, recording is great, right? Because the industry is set up for something like this, right? Like now, if people still had to go to like record stores to get music right now, the music industry would have fallen apart within like a month.
Right.
That's true. Because there would have been no way for people to get the product. Everything would have just, the whole system would have needed to be reconstructed in the moment, like in real time.
Right.
So as much as some people, especially older artists, do not like the digital aspect, because I grew up in an era where it was really about having that physical product, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was about, reading the liner notes, looking at the artwork. There was a lot that went into like, presenting an album to people. Whereas now it's digital files, right? Yeah. In the midst of other thousands of digital files. Yeah. So the presentation of music is much different. But I've had a few years to assimilate to the process and to get my fans kind of assimilated to it. And so, this entire situation that's happening is actually very conducive to the way music is presented to people. So all you have to do is find a safe way of recording, and you're good.
Yeah.
So we're doing a work, and I had a lot of product already worked on, right? So I was working on like 3 different albums simultaneously when this hit, because my thing is, I'm a rapper. Things happen to rappers all the time, right? Sure. Like it's very, very crazy out here. And so my thing is to just create music, so that in case, something crazy happens to me, Queenie has a lot of music that she can continue to release and live off, and then some other guy will come and live in my house off of my music. But
well, God forbid that happens. But I mean, I think Tupac still has an album that's yet to drop, right? It's like I do remember for years, like it felt like for years afterwards there was a new Tupac album.
Right, because he was a very proficient performer and creator, and so in the time that it would take the average artist to construct one song,
Sure.
a guy like Tupac would have already made 3 or 4 songs in that time. And I kind of work in that same way as well. So it doesn't take a lot of time for me to make music. So I was in New Orleans, you know, with Manny Fresh. He and I were making an album together. I was working with this guy from Atlanta named Zaytoven. I was working with this other kid from Houston who lives in Atlanta as well, named Corey Moe. So I was already knee deep in 3 different projects. And so now we're finishing up the space upstairs in order so I could have like a in-home recording setup.
Oh, nice.
And then once I get that final, which is very cheap, right? It's not an extensive process, right? Like the computer, you know, kind of subs as the board, so to speak. So all the tracking and everything happens within the computer. So all I needed is basically this one little box that connects the microphone to the computer and then connects the speakers, the monitors.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a very minimal setup, and then a lot of everything happens away from here. Like I'm not a producer, so I'm not making beats or whatever, because that requires a lot more equipment. And I'm not the engineer that's going to mix and master the album. So I don't need that equipment either. I just need something for me to rap in. So it's very minimal.
I mean, it's more than a click track though, right? You have a beat you're rapping to, or?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
But so like actually, you know, when like Danny, when we had Josh Mankiewicz.
Yeah.
So Bun, if you ever watch Dateline, NBC, and Josh Mankiewicz, and he was saying he never even goes in the office because he figured out a setup in his closet to do his voiceovers. So when you're watching Dateline, it's like, well, Tina came home and whatever. He goes, oh, I just go in my closet, and I have figured out a setup that he could just like has his microphone and everything set up where.
That's where Charles does his stuff. Charles literally set up
really?
a space, and so he does all his podcasting at home and all his radio show.
Wow.
He does it all in the closet because, you know, that's where married men are usually relegated to for private space is a closet. Like, I don't understand these husbands that are allowed a man cave. Like that's amazing that you get like this whole space.
You get a room, but don't you think it's bad that you have to get your own room in your own house?
Or
I don't know how to. I don't know how
my
to
own apartment.
Because Queenie's right there. So.
All right. No, you stay where you stay where you are. You're fine.
Yeah, we don't want to.
I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose any more space than I've already lost.
No. It's always good to have more than half your stuff. Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, you know, I'm making it work. You know, and we're very homebodied anyway. So, like, and then Queenie's a germaphobe as well. So we're not really going anywhere, and we don't really thrive off of human contact anyway. I can sit on my sofa for the rest of my life and watch Office repeats and I'll be fine. Like it doesn't bother me at all. I'm a creature of habit, so I can wake up every day, eat the same food, watch the same thing, literally the same thing on television every day for the rest of my life and I'd be fine.
That's amazing.
Again, another thing we have in common. I'm like, oh good, 30 Rock reruns.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm good. Okay. Oh wait, chicken nuggets.
The interesting thing about this period of time is like I can tell the people, my friends especially, who have been faking that they've been in a really good relationship or actually in a really good relationship. Because the ones who are actually in a really good relationship sound like you. Like they're like, we're happy, we see each other, it's that. The ones who I've always thought had this veneer of like the perfect couple. I've gotten calls from both parties in that couple. It's like, I'm gonna fucking kill that. I'm gonna kill him. And she does this thing with her jaw that is driving me like it's like if they can't get away. So
I would tell you, I posed this question on my social media before I was one of my headlining shows, my Zoom shows, for everyone to just please tell me if you're quarantined with your significant other, just tell me the stupidest argument you've had. I wish I could just the amount of things. It's like, he put cheese on his food, but not mine or our kids because we're rationing it. Like, fuck that shit. Like, he put a passcode on the thermostat, like 27 years of marriage. This is how it ends. I cannot believe it. Like everyone. Hysterical. It is. I was reading these, like just tears running down my face. Like, this is the funniest shit because, and also the parents that are like with their kids, like, look at how cute. That shit's not cute anymore. Those kids are not cute anymore. They're homeschooling them.
Well, for me, it's easy because I operate from a space of deferment, right? So Queenie's right, I'm wrong. As long as we keep that dynamic, everybody's happy.
You have found, yes, the yin to your yang. It's perfect.
That's it.
It's,
That's it.
But I love
I
Bun B.
just sit back and I'm like, what, honey? Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah.
I did
Yeah.
something
And
wrong.
we
I
can
apologize.
coexist. We can coexist. We can coexist.
But
Yeah.
You know,
you,
only time it gets sketchy is when I try to assume that I'm right about something. Then it gets sketchy, and then I have to remember, no, idiot, you're wrong.
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
You can go be right in the closet. That's
tell
where
my
you get to be
friend.
right. You
Yeah,
can just go in the
exactly.
closet and be
Right.
right. Wait, so you saying that you're not a, I know that, like, I've gone to plenty of, like, we've gone to Rockets games, Texans games, like you and I have hung out. And, but people come up to you, Danny, you have to understand, like, we walked around
Moving.
NRG Stadium one time because we were going to a game and it was freezing, and you had like come from Dallas and you were wearing shorts and a short sleeve shirt.
Right.
And it was super cold and we were trying to find you a sweatshirt, and we walked around everywhere. Every single person stops you, wants a picture. You never say no. You're the most like personal individual. Like you've always.
I don't think people can handle it. I don't think, because there's only two buns, right? There's the bun, and then there's the other bun that nobody really wants to see or meet, right? So, and the crazy thing, Jenny, is I tell people all the time, I'm not a people person. I really, that's why I said, like, me being home right now, it's fine. I don't need literal human contact. I can sit right here in this house by myself and be fine. Yeah. So me having the job that I have and like who I am in the city is counterproductive to me as a person, right?
Uh-huh.
Right.
I've always found it amazing that this is the space that I found myself in. The person who tried to avoid human interaction at all times. My entire life is built around human interaction, right? Like that's how I pay the bills. That's how I'm looked at in the city, right? Very personable.
Right.
I've talked to people like you, like you remind me, like what you're talking about is like from the show, from Modern Family, when I worked with Ty Burrell, who's also like affable and out there, but doesn't have the need to be out there. But like when I was talking to him, I got like, and I've talked to other people who have some renown. I do think the performers who are like you, it's almost like whatever needs you have for human contact are taken care of in that performer audience dynamic. So you're satiated in that, and then you can kind of go. Do you find that for you as well?
Yeah, like I don't need to be me when I'm not working, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Totally.
Right. Like I don't feel the need to be Bun B and need that constant reminder that I'm somebody of influence or a celebrity, whatever term you want to apply to it, right? Like I don't need to be satiated, as you said, Danny, in that way every day to be constantly, I don't need to be reminded of who I am. I'm very secure with the normal, regular nobody, right? That I am at home, because I am not Bun B at home at all. I'm Bernard, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And Bernard knows his place.
Yeah, Bernard seems to. Bernard seems, if I'm being honest, quite frightened right now. I'm kidding. I'm teasing you.
I'll admit it. No, I'll admit it. I don't run anything in this house.
So then, because what I like though is you don't. The thing is, you don't hide though, and this is the thing that, like, especially given the times we're in, like the call that you've taken to activism. If you'd like talk about that a lot, because this has been like, this moment feels different. I can only speak as like a middle-aged white guy. I'm sure been passively part of the problem. In some way, but
100%, 100%.
But it does feel like there's been. It feels like things can't, like, I don't know, like a flip switch. Only 150 or 300 years too late, but it does feel like something's switching. So how did you Did you feel like you obviously felt called to like, well, this is the message you've been putting out there forever. How does it feel that it's like, do you feel from your perspective, because it doesn't matter what I feel, do you feel from your perspective that it's finally like clicking with people? Do you feel like there's a sea change finally, or are you skeptical? I wouldn't.
Well, there's definitely progress that's been made right now, right? I wouldn't put a Bush congratulations banner on top of the war chip by any means, but I don't feel as alone. I think that's the biggest change, right? Yeah. That people who have been fighting this fight, like, we've got a lot more company than we normally have.
Yeah.
And that's, and that feels good, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not, because, most people that operate in this space, basically it's been like the same 12 people every time, right? Like something happens and me and the other 11 people in the city who give a damn show up every time, and it's just been us. But now the numbers have been, increased immensely. So we're not necessarily alone in these calls for justice and equality. And that does provide a level of comfort, right? Like there's some days where I realize, like, I don't have to be at everything all the time, because there are now other people who care about what I've always cared about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I have other things that I have the grandkids, my son and his wife caught COVID. So even with, like yesterday, there were like 80 different people who got arrested in Louisville, Kentucky, from protesting in front of the Kentucky Attorney General's house. Right.
I saw that.
And I'm supposed to be there with it, but I had the toothache issue going on.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that there are so many other people willing to step up right now, I don't feel, even though I feel the need to be there, I know that if I don't go, that there are others who will go. Because before it was literally, if I don't say something or do something, nobody will. Right. And so that's the responsibility of the level of influence that I have. So that even though I don't want to be around people, I do recognize that if I don't take action, there are not a lot of other people who are going to take action. And even if there are other people, they may not get the attention that I would get, you know what I'm saying, and be able to bring attention to the matter in the way that I would. So there's a responsibility to having that level of influence. It can't just be about getting a good table at dinner and getting the new Jordans early and that kind of stuff, right? Like you have to use that. You have to use that for the common good, right? And I always find myself, because I'm an elder statesman, right, in my art form, right? So, and it's me and it's like 500 other kids that are 25 years old. And I remember that none of this level of responsibility existed in me when I was their age.
Me,
right? And so, and I understand that, and I wouldn't ask a child to not be, continue to be a child, right? So if they're young and they're still just enjoying life, and they don't have any kids, they don't have a wife at home, they're just really enjoying themselves, and they don't really have that level of awareness, right? Like, I'm like, it's okay, I'll go, right? It's like, hey man, Tommy's drunk off his ass again, somebody's got to go talk him off the roof. Everybody else is laughing and filming, I'm the one that's gonna have to go,
you're the
Tommy down, right? I'm the voice of reason from my respective hip-hop community, right? And so now there are a lot of other people who kind of get it, right? They get it, and it doesn't have to be impressed upon them, right? So they're like, yo, this is fucked up, I need to say something, I need to take a stand. And they do have a voice as well, right? And they speak to the young people. So, and that's a other big difference and shift in this, that it's usually older, more settled people who have been in the world, they're more seasoned, they kind of understand how things work. And so they're I guess their level of awareness to these situations are higher, right? Sure. But when young people activate, change always happens.
Always.
Right? Change always happens. Yeah. So you look at, and I see everything here that's happening in America now kind of mirrors the movement that happened in India a while back, where like shit was fucked up. And so the young people use social media to congregate, to come together and, form alliances and to protest and rally in numbers. That's kind of what's happening now. So they don't need the OG out there every day for what I'm saying? Though I'm aware, even though I'm able, right? I'm willing to go. I would have took my broken tooth ass out there if they would have needed me, but they told me I was good.
Yeah, and they still need you. I mean, you
still got to show up and remind them that you're there, because you do have a huge influence. You have a huge influence in,
and you have a megaphone, and I think
everywhere.
And I think when you're lucky enough, you've earned that megaphone. But then it's what you do with that megaphone. And I watch people, and I watch people of all races waste that opportunity sometimes. I see like people, it's like, really, that's what you're going to do with your platform right now? Like you actually have a chance to like affect, like, I think about like, just like, I'm not going to get into a whole Trump thing. Obviously I have, I'm not a fan.
You've done that enough.
I've done that enough.
You're well represented in that space.
But if you think about it, the simplest fucking thing that guy had to do. Like most presidents, like even the shitty ones, when all the shit goes, when there's like an attack or something, their popularity goes up because they have to do just a minimal amount of stuff, and suddenly everybody. This guy couldn't do the minimum. He couldn't put on a fucking mask. He couldn't give a shit about making sure like people were protected. He couldn't come out and say, "Holy shit, this man was murdered in front of all of us from multiple camera angles. We need to fucking shut that shit down and examine." He couldn't even fake it. And it's like, you talk about like the weight, and you see what the result of that is. We're the worst, this country is like, every other country's figured out COVID, every other country's figured out guns,
Right.
and we can't get it together. So I'm a big, my hat's off to you. Well, now it is.
Oh shit! Put it back.
Yeah, I know. He's crazy bald.
Oh, my shit's worse. My shit is much worse.
No, I get it.
No, is it? Come on.
Yeah, I'm George Jefferson under this cap.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I would
Yes.
kill to be George Jefferson right now. I feel like I look like a Batman villain.
Is she
No.
really knocking on this door while I'm doing an interview? She has no regard for it. Like every time I'm doing something, she'd be like, hey, cut that light off. Like it's always some.
Let me remind you though, she's right and you're wrong.
Yeah, you apologize.
God.
We'll take a minute. Okay, so what I love about you, Bun, is that every time we hang around each other, every time we've gone to Rockets games, Texans games, I think the only thing we haven't gone to is an Astros game together.
We got to do that.
We have to do that.
We have to
Why?
have to do that.
We
Because
actually
I've
have
got
to do
the
that.
end now. I've got the end now.
Big
because
enough hint
I'm
right there.
connected with the family.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really good friends with the son of the owner now.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's Jerry Crane, whose nickname is Bone. I've never met I don't tell them that, but I've never met a white person named Bone before. Like that's a new one for me.
Bones.
Yeah,
Wasn't that the doctor on Star Trek? Bones?
it's Bones.
Oh, bone.
Plural.
Bone.
Plural. There's
Just-
the difference.
You're
But
right.
just a singular bone. That is kind of that's a hard.
I mean, there was Bone
nickname,
Thug,
though.
but he was
Bone Crane.
My
Is he-
assistant
was Bone
manager's
Crane?
nickname is Bone. That's why it's more off-putting for me because my assistant manager is off-putting.
But
Yeah, but I'm not really a people person, and so I used to be a dick about it. Like I used to not really take a lot of pictures and stuff like that. And the thing that changed me was I go to South by Southwest. And
what year was
I normally perform. That's a good question. I can't even remember because I've been performing at South by Southwest since maybe 2008, 2009. Like I was one of the first hip hop acts to actually perform at South by Southwest. And I usually don't go until the music part starts.
Right.
But my judge was premiering his new film at the time. It was called Extract, and it starred Jason Bateman. And so I wanted to not only see the movie, but I felt like, because, just based off Office Space, I felt like if my judge knows who the Ghetto Boys is, he's got to know who Bun B and UGK is, right? So I go there
100%.
trying to find some way to meet my judge. I don't get to see him on the red carpet or whatever. So I'm like, but I know there's a Q&A after. So I'm like, I'll just wait for the Q&A and I'll ask a question. And so everything runs like really late. Like nothing starts for like an hour. The movie doesn't start for like an hour. And so I asked the question, and in the middle of him answering it, my judge becomes aware that, holy shit, like you're Bun B, right? Because I'm actually acting like asking a genuine question about how the movie came together and what was the inspiration and all of that shit. And so after it, I'm invited into like their private area. I get to meet Mike. I take a picture with Jason, and I'm like, obviously I'm a big fan of Jason's or whatever. And I ask him why did everything start an hour late? And so he tells me that, Jason Bateman, who, obviously was a child actor, had fame very early in life or whatever, and but lost everything because he actually admitted, he was a dick, he was an asshole about it. Very young, did drugs and everything, and lost it all, right? And then has this career resurgence, obviously around Arrested Development and all that kind of stuff. And so now he's like so grateful and so gracious that he's like been reintroduced to the world, that he now takes every picture, shakes every hand, talks to everybody. And so that's why he's an hour late coming in because of that. And so I started thinking, like, if Jason Bateman can do this and he's like a big major star, right? Why don't I, instead of waiting for me to lose everything and then try to get it back, why don't I now, while I'm still actually beloved by people, to actually start taking pictures with everyone? Because I'll be honest, I was a dick about that shit.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
How old were you when you had this epiphany?
Probably 34, 35.
That's about when men grow up a little bit. I mean, I find it's like we're basically children till I think I was till like about 33.
Here's the secret: women are too. They're not bright.
Yeah.
Stop it.
We're just as equally immature. Trust me.
Yeah, but like when it comes to boundaries, right? Like, I feel like male fans handle boundaries better than female fans. Right, because if you're allowed to meet Beyonce, right? If you're allowed to meet Beyonce, like you have to be a very like erratic kind of fan to think that you can just hug and grab and touch on Beyonce, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But with men,
I got my ass kicked. Really, I wish I could have that moment back. I really apologize.
I actually have Beyonce's number in my phone, and I've only used it once. Because it was during Harvey. Yeah, no. So, oh my God. So Taylor and Beyonce have the greatest relationship.
I know that's in with
right?
Drake too, right? Like,
yeah.
This is Bun's granddaughter, by the way, who like is like the most popular person with like everyone knows Taylor.
There have been stories like you can Google Bun B's granddaughter and you'll see like stories on different blogs about my granddaughter, right? And the proximity that she's had to celebrities, right? Like
amazing.
It's ridiculous. If you look at it, you'll be like, wait,
Drake went to her birthday party, right?
Like flew in.
Like flew in for her birthday party.
From Canada. And he's like, yo, I heard it was Taylor's birthday. I want to show up. And I'm like, that's why you're here? He's like, well, I'm doing some other stuff too, but yeah, like I definitely want to make sure I do that.
And it was like her 7th birthday or something too, right? Like she was.
And she was it was at a skate rink in Alvin, Texas. So it's not it's not even in Houston proper, right?
Did you get Nolan Ryan to show up though? Like, that would have been cool. Nolan just rolled in, like, hey,
with some hot dogs, right?
Yeah, just remember that time I beat up Robin Ventura?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's just a cool story though. It's good that like you have, there is something about like if you last long enough in the business, like and you become aware of the ups and downs of it, you like lock into what's important. And it's like those who don't really crash and burn. I mean, we've all, Jenny too, we've worked with people who thought like, they hit it big and they think like, oh, this is it. It's like, fuck it, and it's like, it's fucking fleeting,
I took a rapper to Sharpstown Mall, Jenny. That's how long ago it was. I took him to Sharpstown Mall, which isn't even called Sharpstown Mall anymore, right?
Oh my God. And
he was the shit. Like,
yeah.
At the time I took him to this mall, he was the shit. And this mall is literally the home of his core demographic. And and that's kind of Bun B's thing, right? You come to Houston, you do a show, Bun B picks you up, I take you to Frenchie's for fried chicken, and I take you around the city, right?
That's where I have my drivers. Like when I land, I've had like gotten picked up and like, can we go through Frenchie's first before you drive? Like I just need to go.
You have to. I'm sorry. You just
for a quick pit stop. Yeah, I had to go through Frenchie's every time. I don't care.
So I took this guy to Sharpstown Mall, and like people were literally, there's so many people that came up to him that we had to run into Foot Locker, and Foot Locker had to put the gate down.
Oh my God.
Right? And I was like, look, they're going to bring mall security around, and if you want to go out and take some pictures with some of the people, right? And I'm like, nobody's going to fuck with you, right? You're with me, so nobody's going to touch you. Like, your jewelry is safe, you're good, nobody's going to fuck with us. And he's like, nah, fuck that shit. I don't really like doing that shit anyway. And so he literally turned down the opportunity to go out and take pictures with people and like just commiserate with the fans. He actually turned his back and started shopping for sneakers from people. He didn't even like interact through the gate. And that dude he's done.
Yeah.
He probably lasted 2 more years, and he's done to the point where he can't even come back.
Yeah.
Like, so it's all karma. You know what I'm saying? That shit's all karma.
It is. It's karma. And you also like, you know, things go away and you have to be a good person after it's all done. It's like the pro athletes who like, you know, it's like, you know, these things are up and down. I mean, some people go the whole time and God bless them. And you know, I hope I do. But, you know, you don't, you better have something else to like, you better be a person, you know? You gotta be a person.
I mean, you need to appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
Because fame is it's fleeting, right? Like we're not all gonna be Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm very close to Brad Pitt. You can tell by the beard.
Yeah.
But
No, I thought that. I was
for
like,
the most part.
what? Yeah, I thought like, wow.
But you can't forget where you come from. Like, you're the biggest Port Arthur, Texas, like PAT. Everyone knows where Bun B's from. I always, you know, like out here, people ask where I'm from. I always say Houston because it's one's gonna know Bay City.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
It's just south. But I'm like, I always like, I take such pride in where I'm from, especially when you move out of where you're from. Like, I moved from Houston to LA, and you become so much more of a like Houstonian when you're
right.
You know, and
especially when you're not there. And I have to correct people all the time, right? And if I don't, there's been like maybe 3 instances where someone said, well, you know, you're from Houston and this like that, and I didn't correct them in the moment.
Right.
And like Facebook lights up. And it becomes like, you see that motherfucker didn't say he was from Port Arthur. He didn't correct them in that interview, piece of shit. But you know, those people are looking for reasons to not like me, right? And it's so funny because I have people that I went to school with that I didn't fuck with. Mm-hmm. And now like their kids are like rappers or whatever. And if I don't support them, it's like they already have an idea of who I am based on who their parents are. And I have to be like, well, who did your dad tell you he was in school?
Yeah.
Let me dispel that myth.
Yeah.
Your dad was a pussy. Like he was not. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're scared of your dad. No one else on planet Earth
you're the only one.
I'm gonna tell you, your dad ran the projector. That's who he was.
Yeah, exactly.
If I look on my Facebook,
he was the president of the AV club. That's who your dad was.
I tell you, one that keeps getting me is I'll look at my Facebook page, and all of a sudden there's so much with politics and who's wearing a mask, and the people that are like, you don't need to wear a mask, it's a hoax. I'm like, you copied my science homework. I was terrible at it, so I'm gonna listen to you. Like,
you're an idiot. You've been an idiot since math class.
I have it on my Facebook.
You've always been an idiot.
It's all the dummies who are like, from my hometown in Jersey. It's like, I can tell. It's like, oh wow, you never really bettered yourself. You're just as dumb as you were when you were 15.
But like,
I'll
pick my battles with people. So like, I mean, if somebody just asks where I'm from and I don't really want to engage, it's easier to say Houston. Yeah. Because I can just say that and go. But if like,
it's the point of reference, right? Like, it's a point of reference for people. And I'm like, close enough, you know? Because if you try to sit there and explain where Bay City is and how far it is from Houston or whatever, it kind of takes away from everything that we're doing in the moment anyway. So like, fuck it.
I'm like, you know where Galveston is, where Corpus is. Okay, Galveston's here, Corpus is here, Bay City's right in the middle, and then everyone's already lost interest. I'm like, well, you fucking.
I didn't like. There's actually like a birthday for Houston, right? That's celebrated every year, and so I was on the news for one of those birthdays with the guy, and the guy was like, well, you're from Houston, right? You know, you're from here, whatever. And I was like, yeah, sure, you know, whatever, right?
Right.
So I don't want to have to correct you in the middle of a live news broadcast, right? Because it's literally like, it's like, well, let's take it over to Bun B on Houston Day kind of a thing. And I didn't want to get in the whole thing and correct them. Like it became this whole thing. Bun B, it was like literally Bun B denies Port Arthur kind of a thing. And I'm like,
man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every other moment of my waking life, I've always talked about this town. And then in this specific, but that's how much pride people have about where I'm from. It's like, you know, it's a big thing, right?
Look at what you did, the Big Pimpin' video.
No, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Like,
not in the moment, nobody cares, Jenny, because I'm still Bernard to them, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of people I went to school with who find it very hard to believe that I am who I am now in life, right? Because you'll have people in your life that, like, they'll judge you and they'll be like, okay, well, I'm the varsity football player, right? So I'm better than everybody else from class of 91, right? We're all class of 91, but I was the shit in 91 in our school. So I'm always going to be better than everybody else that was in my graduating class. Right. And then they end up becoming whoever it is they become. And then I became who I am. And it just doesn't sit well with them.
Yeah.
Right? They can't handle it. Like it's eating them up inside that they didn't go pro in football or whatever. And then here I am with Jay-Z and all these people and what my life has become. And it eats them up inside. That's not my problem. That's your fucking problem.
Oh, I've had people.
I tell my kids all the time, like when they're growing up and like coming through school, it's like peaking in high school is maybe the worst thing you can do in your life. It's like these little
100%.
failures that you might have here and there. It's like that shapes you and you go on. I know very few people in my circle like who are successful or people in other fields who are like, they were like, they were the complete shit in high, like they had their struggles coming up. You know, they didn't have it like handed to them on a silver. You know, not a lot of prom kings and queens go on to greatness. I always tell them.
No, never.
I know.
Never. That's an anomaly. That's an anomaly if high school isn't the peak for the homecoming king and queen. That's an anomaly. Like
that is. Well, we're about. I think we got to wrap up, but I know it's like you know we've got an hour 15. This is what I want.
This is fun.
I know. I really enjoy this. I hope you'll come back. I feel like I just want to talk to you more. But here's a couple questions just before we go. We always talk about things. What's sustained you? You mentioned Office reruns through this COVID thing. What else are you watching that you love now? Is there anything like that you're watching that like? And you know, doesn't have to be highbrow, it can be shit, does anything. What's getting you through?
I really like, there's a show on Netflix called Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah.
It's fantastic. I just finished the first season.
It's amazing. Like the job that he does. Like, and I've seen him in so many other different things.
Cillian Murphy, right?
Yeah, Cillian. You know, he's in 28 Days Later and Dunkirk and all of that. But the dead eye stares that he gives on the show, and you're only in season 1. Like it only gets better.
That's what everybody says. Yeah. Everybody says it's like gets up.
It only gets better. But I mean, I seriously underrated how good he is because I'm literally scared of him.
Oh wow, yeah.
I'm literally scared of him as a person. Like it would be very off-putting if I saw him in person and he didn't threaten me. It would take everything away from me. I also like, is it Great News? Is that what it's called?
Great News, the one that has Nicole Richie in it.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
they only did 2 seasons. But I love it.
And that was a Tina Fey show, wasn't that? Wasn't that like her? Didn't she produce it?
Yeah. And I think the creator was a writer for Rock, right?
Yeah, it was Tina Fey or Robert Carlock. And one of those guys, So that's.
And what's that actor's name? I'm gonna forget it, but he was in Best in Show
he's in.
He's great.
Mockumentaries.
Yeah.
He's got 3 names. He's got 3
Michael
names.
something. It's Michael something.
But I always think that him and Best in Show was that. Fuck that.
He's brilliant. You just got to get out of the way of him, right?
Yeah, he's so
you
good.
Just got to get out of the way.
He's so good.
I will say that Dave on Hulu.
Definitely.
Dave's huge. Dave, FX, yes.
And I didn't know shit about it, and I just was like, "Oh, I'll watch an episode." Plowed through the whole fucking thing. That
so good.
Truly,
and it's
good.
The beauty of Dave, right, is the same thing that makes Atlanta such a good show. Is because it's seriously non-linear, right? So it's not like there's some kind of conflict that starts at episode 1 that has to be rectified by the end of the season. Like they go on these one-off episodes that center around these minimal characters, right? And it's such brilliant writing on Dave. Great. And I told Scooter Braun. So Scooter Braun is one of the executive producers.
Exactly.
And so I called him like right after it started. I was like, yo, this show is great. And then when I get to like episode 5, I'm like, this fucking show is brilliant. And he calls me one day, like, which is very random. I'm driving and I'm like, oh shit, Scooter Braun's calling. Let me answer the phone. And it's literally the entire cast of Dave on like a group FaceTime call.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It took everything for me to not fan out in the moment, right?
And
then like Dave, because he's obviously an artist, right? He's like, Bun B, you're the shit. I love it. And I'm just trying to be very cool about it in the moment. I'm like, look, you guys do a great job. I really like the show. You'll
Was
keep
Andrew
up the good work.
Santino on that call?
Everybody. And then I hang up the
He's a
phone.
buddy
I'm
of
like,
mine.
and I told Queen, I'm like, they just fucking called me. Like, people from Dave just called me. It's just insane. But I really appreciate work that's really well done, right? Yeah. And in another life, that would have been my aspiration, right? To be a comedic, either writer or actor, but probably writer first, right?
Yeah.
I am so enamored of sitcom people. That's why when Jenny, when you sent me the script signed by Danny, it really blew me away, right? Because
and that meant the world to me. That meant the world to me.
But it blows my mind how, you know, a sitcom, and then nowadays, right? Like sitcoms don't necessarily have to be, and I feel like Norman Lear kind of set the tone for the ability to insert like real world situations
for sure
in the sitcoms, right? Where it's like, okay, yeah, this is a comedy, but we're not going to ignore what's happening in the world.
Yeah, we can go
right, and how real life shit.
Yeah.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And you guys do such a great job of that. I've always wondered why, and this was my question for you, Danny. Like a lot of the early seasons of Modern Family kind of centered around Ty's infatuation.
Yeah. With or his, it was more like she made him nervous, but why we let it go away, because I think our feeling was, because we always liked those moments with Sophia, but if you dug in anymore, it was creepy. Like it was just sort of like, and even then it was like we were sort of, I feel like there was an episode or two right about the time when we abandoned it, where it was
maybe
like,
went too far.
A little bit for me. And, you know, we had a lot of writer producers in the writer's room arguing, and there were people for it and against it. I was one who started to get squeamish about it, to be honest with you. I started to think like, yeah, we have to make him, he loves this woman. I mean, obviously.
No, he loves Julie, right? He loves Julie, right?
So, but yeah.
Who's amazing, right? Who's amazing.
That's someone that Danny, every time we talk about like writing for someone, you've always said Ty Burrell, you're like, that's like a gift.
It's just a dream. And he just always turns your words into so much more than you had imagined.
And
you know,
his like eyes, right? Like his face, like his facial expression in the moment, like even when he doesn't say anything. And he does uncomfortable so well.
Completely. He's just like, he does it, and it's in the smallest way. He never does any, it's like, which I admire, because it's sort of,
he's the king of fidgety, right? He's the king of fidgety.
Completely. Oh man. Well, I'm gonna pass that along, and I'm gonna send this to those guys.
Also, I was gonna say one more thing. I watched Palm Springs on Hulu.
How is that?
I haven't seen it. I hear everything about that.
Everything.
Don't read anything about it, because I went into it blind, and I was so pleasantly surprised.
You just posted about that, right? Didn't you?
I did just post about it. I was like, don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it
because it's not at all what you would even think. And I love Andy Samberg, and he kills.
I can't wait to watch it.
It's so good. I think
Andy is super underrated, right? As a creative, not just as an actor, right? But I feel like his creative side, but even him and Jorma and all those, like,
those are great
every
songs.
Those are great every now and then I'll cut on Turtleneck and Chain and just listen to it, right?
Yeah.
And even without the SNL video components of it, the way that they appropriate the culture and create music, they do joke rap better than some people do real rap.
Yeah.
And I'll just be honest about it.
I love that you say that, because I feel that way too a lot of the time. And it's like, I don't want to say, but it's like, I do feel like that's like absolutely legit what you guys just did. It just feels legit to me. And I really do love rap. It's weird to, I've loved it forever. I remember the first time I was in high school, I was at a dance, and somebody played The Message, and I couldn't have gone to a fucking whiter high school, and it was like just white suburban Jersey, and I heard The Message, and people were talking, I was like, shut the fuck up, listen to this thing, and it was like, because that was the first like real, it was that and Sugar Hill Gang, which is the first things I had heard, and so I always loved it, so I'm
they're really good. They're really good.
Yeah.
And then I'll recommend a movie too, right?
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Waves.
Oh, I heard about Waves.
And it's from a guy that's from here. His name is Trey Edward Schultz, right?
Oh,
He's actually
I met him before. I feel like I met him.
He made a horror film called It Comes at Night.
Yeah.
He's made like 3 different films, right? And they're all kind of centered around family dynamics and as it pertains to certain situations. Waves, I haven't been affected by a movie in years in the way that I was affected by Waves.
Right.
And it's a kind of movie that you need to block out time.
Mhm.
Like literally, so they asked me, because I'm on the board for, and I'll make this very quick. I'm on the board for the Houston Cinema Arts Society.
Right.
So we throw a festival every year, and so they told me that the opening night film was going to be Waves, and the movie studio said we'd like you to watch this movie first before you interview, because I always interview the opening night film director or writer or whoever it is, right? And so they say we'd like you to see this movie first. And I was like, well, normally I watch it and then because I'm in the moment, yeah, I watch it in the moment and then I can take the experience of watching it and bring it to the Q&A. And they're like, yeah, we want you to watch it first. I'm like, okay. So we set up a private screening and I go and watch it. I cried 3 times in the movie.
I've heard this.
I walk out and I'm like, I don't even know how to process what I just saw.
You're just
right?
wrecked.
And I'm torn apart. And so the day comes of the Q&A. I watch it again. I cry 3 times again during the movie. And I'm sitting there trying to talk to him. And like for the first 5 minutes, I'm really just trying to gather myself.
Yeah.
It is such a polarizing movie. And if you watch the trailer, I've never seen anyone do a better job of misleading you by what the trailer tells you.
Oh, really?
I did read the trailer because this was a top choice of the LA film critics out, like, and so it's like, and I hadn't heard of it, but I know a lot about this film, and it's one that's on my list to see. So I'm really excited to see it.
Do you know, is it Hulu? Do you know?
I think it's actually iTunes.
Yeah, I think I
iTunes?
think buy it. So well, that's cool.
It's a must watch, but you need, like I said, it's not one of those movies where you can watch it and then pause it and go eat barbecue or some shit like that.
Right.
Like you have to watch it. Lucas Haas is in this movie. No, not Lucas Haas. The kid from Manchester by the Sea, Luke Hodges.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What's his name? He's so fucking good too.
God damn it, he's good. Sterling K. Brown is in the movie, and there's another kid in there. He's the lead character, and he was in the other film that Trey did called "It Comes at Night," which is like a horror. It's a horror, which is a really good movie as well, right? It's a horror film, but it really centers around how the family dynamic in dealing with this unseen entity, right, affects the family dynamic. But this fucking Waves movie, I can't talk about it enough. And I brought people to the premiere. I brought Charles to the premiere, and Charles and his son, and I brought them to the screening. And we all walk out of the screening, and we're like,
I'm gonna watch this movie in the next couple of days. I'll get your email from Jenny. I'm gonna make sure
please tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it too.
You guys have enough recommendations. The only one I would say is I just wound up rewatching it because they announced the second season coming in September. Amazon, The Boys.
I just saw the trailer for season 2, but I still haven't seen season 1.
I haven't seen season 1 yet either.
I'll watch anything with Carl Urban though. I'll watch anything.
Let me just tell you something.
Yeah.
Carl Urban is off. He's off the charts on this. It's so fucking good. I don't want to ruin it. It's like but every moment in it is so precisely written. Like there is a throwaway scene at the very beginning, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be a lovely like romantic comedy, and with these two, and then somebody's like gone. It's like, wait, you spent that much time establishing a relationship that is absolutely like it's a scene that is better than anything you've seen in any romantic comedy, and it's only for it's a headpiece to a scene. And I was like, and they took that time with the writing on everything. And it's really, especially like, there's things about it today, like about corporate culture and celebrity. And they basically celebrity around superheroes. But it's so fucking good. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Guy, anything before we go?
Have you seen the show Rami?
I still have not seen Rami.
Yes.
Yes, I've seen that.
So Mo is in it, right? So Mo Amer, who's from Houston, is in it. And now, I don't know if you know, Jenny, Mo has a show. So Mo's working on the show.
Yes.
I'm going to be on Mo's show.
Stop it. Really?
I can't talk about it, and it's going to be the most unlikely character
I love
for me,
it.
and that's the reason. Because he was like, I think it would be interesting to see you play this, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, if I'm gonna venture into that space,
Do it.
fuck it. I want to be able to show range, right? Because it'd be very easy for me to play a version of myself,
Yeah.
right?
It's not as fun.
But it's
No,
more
no,
fun
not
to
at
step
all.
outside of your comfort zone and do.
I want to be
different.
challenged because I would love to be in this space. I grew up watching. I'm a huge fan of movies and television, and
Wow, that's so cool.
like I remember like me growing up. Like if there was been one role that I could have played, it would have been like somewhere between John Cusack and Say Anything, and Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China. Like
I remember seeing that with my mom. It's so funny.
That's such a great movie. I'm
It's
waiting for you to
amazing.
put the boombox over your head at the end.
I was
of
so
this.
hoping you were going to say Snake Plissken. I was thinking you were going to say Snake Plissken, and then I was really going to be on board.
oh no, oh my God,
I
Kurt
mean,
Russell. I mean, Snake
Forget about
Plissken,
he
even
was good in the
Tombstone,
second-
like
he was great.
Tombstone, like
Oh,
Tombstone.
Tombstone is one of my favorite movies
Yeah,
of all
Val
time.
Kilmer
I'll watch
is
Tombstone,
good.
and I'll just repeat the lines.
there's no middle ground with Tombstone. Can we just say that before we get out of
Yes,
here?
it's
There's
Tombstone
no
is-
fucking middle ground with Tombstone.
No.
I wrote my thesis in college, like on the gunfight at the OK Corral. Like I wrote this whole
Wow.
because of Tombstone. I used to just literally true story. I would when my senior year of high school, I had it on cassette tape that I recorded off of Showtime, like I mean on the VHS. I would pour some Campbell's chicken noodle soup after I'd been out, like party with friends. I'd eat that, and then I'd be like, "You want fight? Here it comes!" And I'm just sitting there. I would fucking repeat every line of Tombstone. That movie is
And
unflawed.
this
It
is Val Kilmer's peak, right? Like
Oh, for
Tombstone
sure. Well, Jenny's
is Val Kilmer's peak.
always telling me she's not my Huckleberry, which is always.
Oh, you're not my.
I just love how pale he
He's
is,
so
right?
pale and
He was
sickly.
just
He's
tuberculosis.
so
this
fucking
shit.
sick in
He's
the
got-
movie.
Just TB'd out and the whole time, and then every time I've watched it a million times. When he dies, I'm like, all right, I take a break. All right. Oh my God, that is one of what.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out
So-
to Frankenstein's Lab, my friends
I
at
was going
Frankenstein's.
to ask you. I love that hoodie.
Oh,
yeah.
Look,
these-
next time we talk, it has to be just straight film, straight TV. Because
I want to do that next time.
let's part two this out
I'm
because
there.
Okay, we're gonna go part 2. Let's make that happen the next month. I want to have a part 2.
Can we put like a to be continued? At the
Yes.
bottom of
Dot.
this
To be
video?
continued. By the way,
we
we're,
do it in like the Back to the Future to be continued.
which of your songs should we fade out to here on this as we go?
Players anthem, because you guys are so player. You guys are so player.
Or From Backside to
Right.
Side, which I walk out to every
Well,
time.
that's your
I do
fit.
my-
But that's too easy.
No,
That's
that is
too
too
easy,
easy.
right?
That is
Okay, so Bun's Choice, guy, get that.
Players Anthem. And by the way, sidebar, when Danny and I were at the DC Improv and he was featuring for me, and I told the guys in the back, hey, when Danny walks out, play Pop That Pussy.
Yeah.
And so Danny didn't know it, so he walks out to the crowd and Danny Zuker, pop that pussy, hey. And Danny was in a sport coat waving to everyone, just in a sport coat, like, hey, pop that big old titties.
Yeah, that was my first dance at my wedding. Fun. You're an absolute fucking delight. I can't wait to talk to you again. And I hope,
yes, we will do this again because we have to finish up so much.
we go. Thank you. Follow us all on social media. We love
Yeah,
Thank you guys so much.
but thanks, Bun.
beating out.
Thanks, guys. I enjoyed this
Fun. That
immensely.
was so much fun. It's such a pleasure to finally meet you. You can't understand. Like, I feel like I know you so well because I've known Jenny all these years, and it's very rare that a Bun B story doesn't come up in our conversations.
No,
So-
Jenny's just such a genuine person, and I'm very lucky that I'm in a position where I can decide who I want in my life, and Jenny's one of the people.
Well,
You
it
know,
speaks highly.
we met and then just like I'm like, oh, I was like such a fan. Like everyone from my high school, like UGK is, I mean, you know, growing up in the city, and then to be able
from the
to
moment I met Jenny, I was like, this is the person I want to be my friend. Like,
That's how-
period. Like, not an acquaintance, right?
Yeah.
I want this person to be my friend.
We became fast friends. We definitely became fast buddies.
Jenny and I were friends at first sight. It really was true. We just were.
No, everybody loves Jenny.
No,
Fuck Chris.
Not everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, Guy, thanks a lot. I got to fly, but it's great to see you. Thanks again, Bun.
All right.
No problem. Jenny, we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.